In this video tutorial, we are going to cover some problems related to circumference of circle. Now, the first problem is find the perimeter of the given shape. So this is actually a square, and on this square on each side you have a semicircle that I have already shaded with a different color. Okay, why I have shaded this? Because it's asking for the perimeter. Therefore, the perimeter will be the sum of all the circumferences of these semicircles, and we are not going to include the sides of this square for calculating perimeter, because perimeter always is calculated for the outer surface, So what's on the outer surface in this figure? Clearly these semicircles. So in order to calculate the perimeter, imagine that you start from this point. And if you trace all the way up from here, then from here, then from here, then from back to the initial point, that's actually perimeter. So the square lies inside the figure, therefore you cannot take it into account to calculate the perimeter. Now, what will be perimeter in this case? Perimeter in this case will be circumference of this semicircle plus circumference of this semicircle plus circumference of this semicircle plus circumference of this semicircle. Clearly, all the circumferences are actually equal. And why? Because this diameter in this case is actually what? 14 centimeter. Why? Because each semicircle has been drawn on each side of the square, and since square all the sides are equal, therefore it means that this is actually what? The diameter of this semicircle, right? So all the circumferences of these semicircles are equal. So perimeter in this case will be 4 times circumference of one semicircle. Now, if we denote circumference of a circle by C, let's say that C is a circumference of a circle, we know that the formula to calculate the circumference of a circle is what? Pi times d, or C is equal to, that is circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, that is radius. If you want to calculate using diameter, then this formula can be used, and if you want to calculate using radius, then this formula can be used. Since here we have diameter 14, so we'll go with this formula. Now think that if the formula to calculate the circumference of a circle is pi times d, then what will be the formula to calculate the circumference of a semicircle? Clearly, it will be half of it. So, if C is the circumference of circle, then circumference of a semicircle will be half of the circumference of the full circle, that is pi times d, right? This will be the formula for the circumference of a semicircle. So let's put this value. This is 1/2. In pi we have to use 22/7 times, what's d? D is 14. So if you solve it, you get 7 times 2, 44/2 centimeter, and this way you get 22 centimeter. So circumference of one semicircle is what? 22 centimeter. Therefore perimeter, let's denote it with P, will be 4 times circumference of one semicircle, that's equal to 22 centimeter, 22 centimeter. This comes as 88 centimeter. If we divide a circular disc of radius 7 centimeter in two equal parts, what is the perimeter of each semicircular shaped disc? Now it's saying that if this is a circular disc of radius 7 centimeter, and if you divide this, cut this into two equal discs. Okay, so let's do that. Try. Okay, we have divided this circular disc into two equal parts. Now we have this one semicircular disc here and one semicircular disc here. Now it's asking what is the perimeter of each semicircular shaped disc. Now if you remember, in this case only this was the outer surface but not this one. But in this case, when we cut this into two half parts, then you can clearly see that now if you have to calculate the perimeter of each semicircular, then not only this will be the outer surface but also this that we are actually shading, denoting with the dotted lines, right? That is the diameter in this case, right? This one and this one. Imagine that you start walking from here, so the perimeter will be like going from all the way from this, then tracing this path and back to this one. Same thing here, you start from this one and you trace all the way from here to up to back to this initial point. So in this case you have to take the, if we are calculating perimeter of this one, if we denote this with P, and in this case perimeter will be circumference of one semicircle, or no need of one, circumference of semicircle plus what's this? This is diameter, right? This is diameter. So outer surface will be the circumference of the semicircle and this diameter. So circumference of semicircle will be what? Circumference, let's denote this as small c. So this will be half times pi times d. If we are using circumference as a formula, c is equal to pi times d for the circle. So for the semicircle it will be half times pi times d, and that's what we have written here. So circumference of semicircle, we have denoted it with this small c, is half times pi, we have to use at 2207, times d will be what? Since the radius is what? Radius is 7 centimeter, and we know that diameter is 2 times radius. Therefore this gives us d is 2 times 7 is what? 14 centimeter. And always keep in mind this unit is very important. So 14 centimeter, right? Now if you calculate this, 7 times 2, then again you get as 22 centimeter. Now this 22 centimeter is what we have calculated for this one, that is circumference of semicircle. So write it down here, it becomes 22 centimeter plus diameter is what? 14 centimeter. So this P, the perimeter of this semicircle, comes as 22 plus 4 is what? 36 centimeter. So the perimeter of this semicircle is 36. Similarly, same will be for this one, because this semicircular disc is cut from this one and is of equal part, or of equal size. Therefore, perimeter for each of these two semicircles will be 36 centimeter. how many times a wheel of radius 28 centimeter must rotate to go 352 meter. Now notice, here you have meter and here you have centimeter. That's why I said that it's very important to notice the unit. So it's saying that imagine that you have a wheel of radius 28 centimeter. So if you imagine that you have a wheel, let's roughly draw a wheel, though it will not be very exact, but just imagine that this is our wheel. Okay, so it's saying that if it travels, let's say this is our surface. So imagine that from this point, from here, right, this mark is on the wheel, it started rotating, right? So it went here, then here, then here, then here. So it's rotating. So imagine that after some time, it has reached, at this point, and this red mark, ignore this one, the previous one. Imagine that you have now come here. This red mark is now here, right? So it rotated, sorry. So after rotating, you reached here. Then finally, again, you reach back to the initial point. That is, now you are here again. This red mark reaches here again. Right? So in this way, you have taken one full rotation. This red mark was on the wheel, then this red mark went here, and this was of the half rotation. And when you have taken a complete full rotation of the wheel, then this mark again comes back to the initial position. Now, clearly, we know that the distance traveled will be actually what for one rotation. For one rotation, it will be what? Distance traveled for one rotation. For one rotation, since in one rotation will be actually equal to circumference of this wheel, of the wheel, right? And that makes sense, because it will, the circumference of this wheel will be exactly the distance that it will cover in one rotation, right? So it will trace all this path and will come back here. So it will, in one complete rotation, it will travel a distance, the distance that will be equal to the circumference of the wheel. So what is circumference of the wheel in this case? Now clearly, circumference of the wheel is pi times d, right? You have to take pi as what? 2207. And what's d here? D is nothing else but diameter. Radius is how much? 28 centimeter. Okay. So if radius is 28 centimeter, what will be the diameter? Diameter will be 2 times 28. So this gives you that diameter is 56 centimeter. Diameter is 56 centimeter. So put it here, 56 centimeter. And this comes as, let's denote this with d. So d comes as 7 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16 and 176 centimeter. Okay, so your distance traveled in one rotation comes as 176 centimeter. It's what's asking is how many times a wheel of radius this must rotate to go 352 meter. Now it's saying that how many times this wheel will rotate if it covers the distance of 352 meter. Okay, so if in one rotation it covers 176 centimeter, right? So we can easily calculate what will be the number of rotations for 352 meter, right? So first change this into centimeter. We know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. Therefore, in this case, you have 352 meter. So this becomes 35200 centimeter, right? Unitary method. How? For 1 meter is 100 centimeter. For 1, it's 100. Therefore, for 352, this becomes 352 times 100. And if you solve it, this gives you same thing in centimeter, right? So 352 meter is actually what? 35200 centimeter. Now, in 176 centimeter, you take one rotation. Here I'm again using the unitary method to explain you what you will do to find out the number of rotations if the wheel covers the distance of 352 meter. So for 176 centimeter, wheel takes one rotation. Therefore, for 1, this will be 1 over 176 rotations. Rotations. This is rotation, this is also rotation. Right? Therefore, for 35,200 centimeter, what will be the number of rotations? This will be 1 over 176 times 35200, right? Rotation. So if you divide this, first let me remove some space. I need some space. Okay, so this becomes 35200 divided by 176 rotation. Now let's divide this. If you divide this, you get 200 rotations. 200 rotations. So when this wheel covers the distance of 352 meter, it makes 200 rotations. And how we solve it? Using the unitary method. Simply divide the distance covered in one rotation and divide that with this one, 352 meter. Divide 352 meter with the distance covered in one rotation, and you will get the number of rotations, and I've explained you using unitary method. The minute hand of a circular clock is 15 centimeter long. How far does the tip of the minute hand move in 1 hour? Again, the minute hand of a circular clock is 15 centimeter long. So imagine this is the figure. How far does the tip of the minute hand move in 1 hour? So clearly, tip of the minute hand is this one, right? So this is the minute hand, this is the hour hand, this is the minute hand, this is the hour hand. Now, this tip, when you can imagine that if it moves, it's actually moving in a circular path, right? So it moves in a full circle in 1 hour. So initially it was 1 AM or PM, anything. Now it is 2, right? So it has clearly moved, it has taken one complete circular path. One complete circular path. So when it makes one circular path, clearly the radius will be how much? Radius will be actually this, the length of this minute hand, actually, the length of the minute hand. And that is how much? 15 centimeter. So radius of this circular path that this minute hand will make in 1 hour will be, radius will be 15 centimeter. So when it takes one complete path, it comes back again to this point, making one circle, and this hour hand moves from 1 to 2. So how far does the tip of the minute hand move in 1 hour? Same what we have discussed here, that in one rotation it travels the distance of this, equal to the circumference. In this case, if it makes one circle, how far does the tip of the minute hand move in 1 hour? You have to simply calculate the circumference. If you calculate the circumference, it will tell you the distance that it has actually covered. Okay, so let's calculate. Circumference will be how much? If radius is 15 centimeter, therefore in that case diameter will be 30 centimeter, right? Now circumference if we denote by C is equal to pi times d, and you have to, C will be, pi is how much? You have to take 3.14 and times d is how much? Is 30 centimeter. So C becomes 31.4 times 3 centimeter, and if you solve it, you get 3 times 4 is 12, 3 1 3 4 and 3 3 9. So 94.2 centimeter, right? This will be the path that this distance that this minute hand will cover when it takes one full rotation in 1 hour. So how far does the tip of the minute hand move in 1 hour? It will move 94.2 centimeter by calculating the circumference.